My brother and his wife have a baby over a year old. He's 15 months. I regularly babysit him. I don't mind it because I'm happy to help my brother, although his wife is a stay-at-home, so I'm not sure why I have to, but I don't want to cause trouble. I work and own a dairy farm. I asked my brother if it's okay I take his son to work with me whenever I babysit, otherwise I would get nothing done. I have proper safety precautions in place and he only comes with me in the tractor because it has a proper car seat. He said it's fine. My nephew loves the animals. He makes all kind of excited noises and I try to encourage him to pet them when I hold him. They are all vaccinated and dosed regularly and calm again, cleared with my bro. We spend a lot of time together. My brother and his wife have been trying to get him to say his first words, although it's not simple and they don't exactly make it easier. Instead of mama or dada, they coax him to say mother and father, and my nephew just doesn't get it. He's a baby and those words seem kinda complicated for a baby. We were all over at my parents' house for a Sunday get together and I was sitting playing blocks with my nephew. He suddenly looks up at me and starts going B. I thought it was just normal baby talk, then he gets more aggressive, repeating those letters over and over again, then he starts going N. He then shouts Ben and points at me and laughs. Ben, my name. My brother and Sil start yelling at me saying I was coaching him and how I was being selfish. They immediately pick him up and my brother yells at me. It took away his first word that was supposed to be our moment. They storm off to another room. They stay in there for about 10 minutes and then come out and leave. But as they are leaving, the baby looks at me again and shouts in the playful baby voice Ben and points at me again. My S. Il shouts at her son, so her son starts crying. Then she shouts at him more, starts crying herself, and they leave. My parents think I'm an ass and I shouldn't have been teaching him my name. But I haven't. The only time he hears my name is when anyone else says it. They think I should apologize to my Sil for ruining why should have been a mother's special moment. But honestly, my Sil doesn't act like much of a mother. She doesn't work. I have her son 5 days a week. I refuse to take him on Saturdays and Sundays because I want to get some nitty-gritty work done and she throws fits about it. At family events, Hess always offloaded to me, to play with, to feed. She pumps always has. I'm not judging her for not doing direct breastfeeding BTW, to calm down any tantrums and to change when he goes bathroom in his diapers. Update 1. I did not call CPS. Our country has something else, but for simplicity I'll just refer to it as CPS. Straight away, that was probably my biggest mistake. I've always tried to see the good in people and trust and forgive others. It's a terrible habit to have in this modern day, but that's just always been me. I brought Lo over to his parents' house early Friday afternoon and told them it's their baby, they need to look after it. I wasn't going to babysit anymore, not unless it's a dire emergency such as death or illness. I gave them parenting books and explained everything they were doing wrong. We had a long talk for a few hours, and I honestly thought we got somewhere. I went over Sunday afternoon and Lo was doing great. He was doing the baby stumble all over the room. He was laughing. It seemed great. The car seat was nowhere to be found. I thought we'd turned a corner. He even said his second word. It's well, not sure why, but he uses it now to get attention instead of Ben. I was only over for an hour and they all seemed happy. On the way out, I mentioned to my brother that on Monday I was going to be helping my fiancé move into mine. Monday morning rolls round. I get up, milk, feed the dry cows and calves, bed everything and put the milking stock out to grass. I was running late to meet my fiancée, who I'll call Aya, so I took off my overalls, ran into the house, grabbed my keys for my pickup off the table. I didn't even look in the living room. You can see where this is going already. It was 10 o'clock at this point. I put my trailer on and went over to Aya's. I was there for 3 hours helping her load and pack. We went and got lunch at around 2. We stayed at the cafe for an hour, went shopping together for an hour or so, then back to hers to lift my truck and the rest of her stuff. We got back to mine at around 7. We were standing talking in my yard when we both hear screaming and crying. I unlocked the door and run in and was greeted with an image I'll never forget. Lo was on the floor screaming, crying, his face all red. He was sucking on one of the unopened bottles of breast milk. His high chair that I have was lying on the floor. He had tried climbing it earlier in the day. I looked back through the cameras after CPS came. My TV was on the ground, broke. The place was a mess. His diaper was a mess. I picked him up and began calming him while I changed him. I have put 3 bottles in the microwave to heat up and then took him to feed him for me. I got a text then from my bro asking if I could bring him back to theirs at around 8 because they had a surprise for everyone. They were having an announcement party, which is why I had to babysit so they could get it all ready. They hadn't texted me at all earlier. I then thought about ringing my bro, but as I looked at my fiancé, who was yanking the bottle out of Lo mouth so he didn't drink too fast, he was really aggressively gulping it down and give himself stomach problems, I decided to call CPS and the police. CPS came to us, and the police went there as I handed Lo over and gave my statement as well as a copy of my CTVV. My Sil arrived at mine at 7 a.m. and dropped Lo off. My living room baby monitor caught nearly all of Lo movement and one of my outside cameras caught a fair bit of his movement in the kitchen. He pulled the TV down on top of himself after he had been crying for a few hours. That's how he got his forehead bruise. He tried to climb into his high chair, but that fell onto him and bruised his shoulder. He sat in the car seat I have on the living room floor, took it out of my truck to make room for boxes, and just screamed my name and then just screamed nothing. His voice was hoarse by this point. What was Sil's surprise, you wonder? Well, it's nothing, only that she's pregnant again, because in her words the first one was a breeze, and she wants a daughter. Unfortunately, CPS in my country believes strongly in rehabilitation, but it's aggressive rehab, not just here's your kid, try to do better, it's the whole 9 yards. My Sil has a new therapist, and they must do couples counseling as well as parenting classes, weekly visitations by CPS from now until new baby is 2 years. I have been appointed as a watcher for Lo, meaning anyone that wants to visit has to be approved by me and a bunch of other things must go through me. I know I made a mistake in trusting them, but I really thought they would change. Aya and I are now fully moved in together. I haven't babysitted at all this week. Bro and Sil are in between court appearances and other mandated events as well as being a parent. They struck a deal with the prosecutor and CPS 3 years suspended sentence and a bunch of other restrictions, which is how this all progressed so fast. My parents have finally seen Sil and Bro for what they are and have apologized profusely to me. I'm getting married in March, but I've demoted my bro from best man to guest. I just promoted my best friend and picked another friend to be a new groomsman to keep it even with Aya's bridesmaids. I'm contemplating uninviting them, but I'm going to think about it for a while. A lot of you said I should adopt Lo, but the truth is I don't want to. I love him and will always be there for him, but I want it to be in a fun but caring uncle capacity. I know this sounds selfish, but I just can't explain my love for him. I want to have my own family and still be a part of his. I hope you all understand this. There is still a lot happening, so I might make an update too, much later, but this is all that I can share at this point. Bro and Sil are mad at me and refusing to talk outside of anything they are legally required to talk to me about. I don't see why they are mad at me though. They left a baby which hadn't had breakfast at my house and didn't tell me when they knew I was going to be away. Update 2. My brother and Sil were abusive to my nephew. You can find a full rundown on my profile, but the short version is: screamed at him when he said his first word cause it was the wrong word, abandoned him at my house without telling me, so I accidentally left him alone for 12 hours, would shove him down when he would try to walk, strap him into a car seat on the living room floor when he tried crawling. They don't really talk to him, just demand he say words. Sil always pumps, she never breastfeeds, so I'm worried he never got that skin to skin connection that I hear about. CPS is involved now, but I'm worried that all this abuse has taken a toll on him. He's in development therapy now, but I was wondering if there anything else I can do. I don't have custody, but I am a legal guardian appointed by the courts. His parents do hate me at the moment. I know I'm not a parent, but I'm using this profile now to try and learn from others on how I can help Lo. Apologies if this isn't the right sub for it. Update 3. I first tried having a civilized conversation with Lo's parents and it worked for 2 days, then it was back to me looking after him, so I called CPS. There is a whole incident on my page if you're curious. Sil is unfortunately pregnant again because apparently raising the first one was simple and easy. She also used the word breeze. CPS has them on a strict regiment with regular therapy for them all and classes for the parents. Sil's new therapist has diagnosed her with narcissistic personality disorder as well as a few other things, but not PPD surprisingly. I didn't mention it in the original post cause it wasn't relative, but I was engaged at the time. I'm not anymore though. Cause I'm married. I invite Lo and his parents. He has said his second word it's Will. He doesn't know any people called Will though. And he hasn't really said my name much cause his physiologist thinks it's cause he associates it with yelling at him now. But he said it at my wedding along with a new word that I definitely didn't teach him. There was a quiet moment when my best man passed the mic to my wife's Mo and Lo chose that moment to demonstrate his vocabulary. Ben. Will. Fuck. Everyone started laughing except his parents, who were mortified. They see themselves as better than everyone else. They did try to blame me for the F word, but it's not my go-to swear word. Bastard would be my main choice. His parents are doing better. My bro was the golden child, but he's fallen out of favor with my parents since CPS was called. I have been over to their house and everything seems fine. No car seat on the living room floor. Lo running around laughing, making noises, enjoying himself. My Sil on the other hand has called me multiple times crying because Lo would cry for no reason or he wouldn't sleep despite being fed and changed. All normal baby things. She wants me to solve it, but she needs to learn, especially with N.O.2 on the way. Update 4. The biggest changes are my bro and Sil are getting a divorce because Sil is having an affair with a guy called William, or Will for short, which is probably where Lo learned will and fuck from. He has also learned a handful more words, which is great. Anytime I didn't babysit Lo last year, she would take him with her to meet Will, who lived in a studio. One bathroom and the kitchen and bedroom were in the same room. Lo would have been left facing the wall or in the bathroom while my Sil got down to business. Apparently Will would also come over to hers, but more often than not she went to his. Will was a guy who peaked in high school. He was a football/rugby guy but has since lost that physique and is now overweight, so I'm not sure what my Sil sees in him or why she climbed into bed with him. He was in the year above her at school and he never knew her during school. Lo has also had his life turned upside down because I'm not his uncle, because my bro isn't his biological dad, Will is, which is unfortunate. My Sil wants nothing to do with my bro outside the divorce and is currently staying with Will, who works in our country's version of Walmart, so not exactly great to support his future stom and future baby. It could be my brother's baby, but my Sil says the dates line up with her affair more than her marriage's sex life. My bro wants nothing to do with Lo. He's being quite rude to him now, saying things like I should have known it wasn't my son wouldn't be such a moron. I was wondering why Lo was so ugly. This explains why, etc. The divorce violates the terms of their custody agreement set by the courts that was agreed to by them so they could avoid child abuse charges. So now Lo has been seized by the state and they are looking at actual prison time now if found guilty. My bro is trying to use the not his bio son so it doesn't count as his defense. I wish him the best of luck with that. Lol. Some good news for Lo though is I'm trying to adopt him now. He's currently in foster care with me, but he had to spend a week with the state while things were still blowing up. He is going to have to go back into state care for 2 weeks when I go on my honeymoon, as I can't find anyone to take him and it's too late to cancel it. This does throw my life plan a bit, as I wanted to wait 5 years or so till I had kids with Aya, but we'll figure it out. She's okay with it anyway and we can still have bio children later on down the line. We just don't know whether Lo counts as one of the three that we want, and how age differences and family dynamic would work, but that's a conversation for later. The state says I can have full custody of Lo by early June, which is great, and then monthly checkups until this time next year. They said since he's not 2 years old just yet that I can give him a new name since he's not responding to his actual name, but I don't know what to call him as I want to save my names for future children. I feel a new name is a good idea, though it would mark a new beginning for him. Any name ideas are appreciated, English names preferably, as I feel it would be kinda racist to give him a Chinese or Spanish or French name. My parents aren't happy with me adopting Lo as he's not actually ours, so why bother with him anymore? Just leave him, let him find his own new family instead of hijacking ours. If I did leave him, there's a strong chance he ends up back with my Sil, which I'm not letting happen. If Sil doesn't contest the adoption and neither does, well then it should be fairly smooth. So yeah, I guess that's Lo's story for now. His vocabulary is very adult and I would like him to forget half of his words, but I digress. His vocab is in order of everyone hearing him say the word Ben, will, fuck, harda. I think he's trying to say harder. Oh god. This is just so wrong for him to know. Oh. He might just be saying the letter O, but I have a feeling he's not. And last but not least, having him in public is going to be fun, haha not. Update 5. So I adopted my nephew, 18 months, although technically he's not my nephew. As it turns out, he's not any biological relation to me, as mom and my brother are divorcing and he has a sibling on the way, but I'm not interested in adopting them as I doubt they will be seized by the state. There is a longer version of Lo's story on my profile, but he was abused, not physically violent but verbally and emotionally. He was also forced to watch his mom and actual dad, his dad is not my brother, it's some other guy, have sex from a young age, because his mom couldn't be bothered to move him. I did foster him while everything was getting sorted out, but he had to go back into state care for 12 days while I went on my honeymoon, as it was too late to cancel and we couldn't find anyone to take him. He is now fully mine. We thought he'd have some problems after we left and then came back, but nope, he was unaffected. It's been over a week since we've been back and he's been fine. We finally finished his room and it's filled with toys and mats, books, posters, anything he was excited about. We also got, he now has a toddler bed instead of a cot with a plank with a weight on it to stop him standing or getting out like he had at his mother's. We had no problems with that transition. A few minor problems trying to get him to stay in his room, but we got a door monkey and he's fine and now does quite time if he's up before me and my wife are. We got him his first stuffed animal. It's a biggish ginger cow like one of the ones I have on my farm. We told him he could sleep with it and play with it or take it anywhere, and he got so excited we could hear him in the monitor babbling away to it at night. He never had any comfort items at his mom. She didn't believe in toys or pacifiers. He jumped and laughed with joy. He took it everywhere, to my farm, to daycare, car rides, you name it, he took it. Our major problem is a few days ago he started crying and running away anytime we came near him. He's instead hold his stuffy and run away and hide or curl up in a corner. If we approached he screams and cries. If we touched him he'd kick or bite. He won't take his bottle from us and he's refusing most solids. In order to feed him we have to set the bottle or plate on the living room table, then leave the room. After about 5 minutes he will start to feed himself. If it's solid food it's really messy. If it's a bottle he grabs it and runs and hides. He will cry a little. We have tried hugging him, signing to him, talking it out with him, but he still runs and hides. It's so difficult to change him. We have to actually grab him and hold him down. He will cry and scream and hold his stuffy even tighter. He can't be separated from it. He's also started crying in his bed, but we can't go near him otherwise it makes it worse, so I just sleep in his doorway with the door open so he can see me. His stuffy fell out of the bed one night and I awoke to a most blood-curdling scream. He was shoving himself into the corner of his bed, tears streaming down his face, banging his head against the wall. I picked the stuffy up of the ground, handed it to him and left the room. He immediately calmed into a wimp and sniffled before falling asleep, curled up in a ball. He's a different person than the one I used to know. I thought maybe all the new stuff was overwhelming, but he uses it all and he enjoys it all. I tried taking a few things away. I didn't try taking the stuffy, just the big puzzle or the water drawing mat, and he freaked, so I put them back. Ever since I gave him the stuffy he's been like this. He's in play therapy, but his next session isn't until Wednesday. He's been able to mime out using toys a lot of stuff, including his mom having sex. I thought he wouldn't remember a lot of this stuff as he was an infant for most of it, but he does. He's been temporarily barred from daycare as he now avoids the other kids and cries if any of them try to come near him or interact, and refuse to be fed by the attendant. A girl came up to him and took his stuffy because she's 17 months and doesn't know better yet, and he charged her and hit her and jumped on her, then bit her, all while screaming. Before the attendant was able to pull him off, the attendant took the stuffy and he freaked out again, so she gave it back and he ran and hid under a table and calmed down by himself. The poor girl has a black eye and a bruised forehead with a big-ish bite just above her wrist. When he was with his mom he would be put in another room if he cried for food outside of scheduled feeding time at 1 week. If he was napping he would be woken up if it wasn't a scheduled nap. He had a plank of wood weighted down over his crib to stop him standing. If he made noises he was told to be quiet. If he crawled away from them he would be brought back and forcefully held. If he crawled and they didn't want to watch him he would be strapped into a car seat to stop him. When he was trying to walk he would be shoved to the ground. If he held his arms out to be held when they didn't want to hold him, which was fairly often unfortunately, he would be told no and they would shove his arms away. They yelled at him because his first word wasn't what they wanted it to be. He wasn't allowed toys or pacifiers at his house. His clothes were not stereotypical baby clothes, and if he took them off as he grew older he would be yelled at and strapped into his high chair as a punishment. I'm seriously overwhelmed and I feel like I failed him already. Maybe it would have been better if I let the state find someone else to adopt him. Maybe being with me is just a familiar to the abuse since I was a face he seen regularly after / before he had been abused in secret. He used to be so happy to see me when I babysat him for 5 days a week most weeks in the first year of his life. I was his first word. When we brought him home for his first night at ours, he hugged me, we played for hours together, I read him a story to go to bed, we read together most nights, even now when he won't let me near him I still read to him. Update 6. I adopted a kid a while back from my brother and still he was abused there. He's not my brother's bio kid though. The full story plus some updates are on my page. We had an issue about 2 months ago of him not wanting anyone to come near him. He would break down screaming, and if you tried to touch him he'd bite and hit you. We have since gotten past that, but we've gone from one extreme to the next. He is still obsessed with his cow plush, which is fine, I think it's good. He has a comfort toy. We bought a second one to swap out when he's asleep so we can wash it now. I cannot move or do anything without him getting upset and trying to follow me. I was doing paperwork on the couch, he was at my feet, I needed another file which was 6 to 7 feet away. I got up and walked over and grabbed it. I turned around and he ran over with his plush and grabbed my leg. He was crying no over and over. I tried telling him I was just getting a file and was coming back to the sofa, but he just held on tighter and cried harder. This is just one of the instances. We put him to bed and wait for him to fall asleep. If he wakes up in the night, the first thing he does is burst into tears and scream. Then when we come into his room to see what's wrong, he runs out the toddler bed dragging his plush and runs over to us sobbing no. He will grab one of our legs and hold on tight, tears running down his face, snot pouring out his nose. He recently learned the word mama. He's behind in development but is making progress on catching up. He calls my wife mama, and if she leaves him alone for a second or even just walks across the room he screams and cries mama and runs after her sobbing no. I brought it up to his therapist and she said she will look into it and work on finding a solution. We can't put him back in daycare until his attachment issues are resolved, as he attacked another kid when she stole his cow plush and so he was temporarily bared. We have a nanny now and he's calm around her, but he has no issues with her leaving him or walking across the room. I need some help and advice on how to get him more comfortable with me and my wife walking away from him or going into another room. Update 7. I adopted my abused nephew from my brother and Sil. As it turns out he's not biologically my brother's, as Sil was heating on him. She got pregnant a while ago before my son was seized by the state for abuse. Everything about his abuse is on my page. I really don't have the strength to type it out again. I found out a while ago that it's a girl, which is fine, I don't really care. She's due next month around the 7th. The courts recently decided that this baby is going to be seized as well before she even gets a chance due to Sil's inability to change and the fact her living conditions are unstable. She did a pregnancy DNA test. She was hoping the baby would be her affair partner so they could be a family and then they could sue to get their first son back from me. The DNA test showed, however, that the baby is my brother's, who has dropped off the face of the earth. CPS approached me this week and asked if I wanted to take the new baby when it's born, and I said I would think about it. I really don't know. This kid is already so difficult due to his abuse, and I really don't want to throw a newborn on top of this and cause more harm to both the baby's and toddler's mental states. I also don't want to take her because then I'm effectively saying I'm responsible for every kid that women shoots out. I have no connection to the girl, she's not born yet. I adopted Lo cause I had known him since he was born and we had a history. I'm looking for some outside perspective. A few people have said it would be a good idea because then Lo has a sister he would be actually related to, because when me and my wife have more kids there wouldn't be any blood bind between Lo and future kids, but that reasons just sounds really dumb. I've been told having a younger sister will help Lo get over his issues faster, but I think it will do the opposite and just make things worse for him.